Bandeyam Shri Guru Shiyata Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shirupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishakam Vitam Sya Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyanajana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gorva Bhistam Supurakam Gurganarasesha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govindam Vidam Ujvalam Varatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Bande Vishwagurun Shah Divyad Bhagavat Premnawe Bija Pradam Vanshakopatarubyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the hidden treasure of the sweet absolute, with translation and commentary by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev-Goswami Maharaj. We're in the 4th chapter, Jñana-yoga, the path of knowledge, and we're on text number 24, which is Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaivatena Gantavyam Brahmakarma Samadhina. The later was Brahman, the oblation is Brahman, offered by Brahman into the fire of Brahman. One whose consciousness is fully absorbed in Brahman action certainly attains to Brahman, the absolute. So here we have an analogy, the ladle of Brahman, the oblation of Brahman into the fire of Brahman. So this is an allegory meant to illustrate the offering of everything into the fire of Brahman. So we also understand that normally someone may think of Brahman realization as being impersonal realization. But the Bhagavad Gita also later says, Brahmabhuta prashanatmana shochatina kankshati samasarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. That on the platform of Brahman, when one has attained that level of consciousness and sees all living entities with equal vision, when one is not disturbed by a sense of gain or loss, then one can engage in devotional service, or one can begin devotional service from that level of realization. So in other words, Bhakti Yoga is not ending when one comes to the level of Brahman understanding, but rather Bhakti Yoga is beginning when one is on that spiritual platform. And Daivam evapare yagyam yogina paryupasate brahmagnavapare yagyam yagyenaivo pajuvati. Daivam evapare yagyam yogina paryupasate brahmagnavapare yagyam yagyenaivo pajuvati. Some yogis offer sacrifices to the demigods, and others offer the self into the fire of Brahman by vibrating the pranava mantra, Om. So this mantra of Om, in his conversations with the Mayavadi sannyasis headed by Prakashananda Saraswati in Varanasi or Benares, Mahaprabhu, when he was giving a critique on what is the explanation of the Vedanta Sutra by Shankaracharya, he says that Shankaracharya doesn't refer to the main sound vibration which is given in the Vedas, which is Om, but rather he's just emphasizing one aspect of spiritual realization, meaning that you're the same as the Lord. And Mahaprabhu, his philosophy is simultaneously one and different. So we are one with the Lord in the sense that we have the same qualities, which is Sat Chit Ananda. We are conscious, we are eternal, and we are also in our original spiritual stage with Ananda, with full happiness, as is the Lord. But there's a difference in degree, and that degree is that we are infinitesimal and the Lord is infinite. So Mahaprabhu explained how Shankaracharya didn't refer to the main sound vibration of Om, which is in the Vedas, but he rather emphasized Tattvamasi, that you're non-different. So it is said that when there is a half-truth is more dangerous than a lie. So the half-truth is you're non-different from the Lord. That's the half-truth. But that's not the whole truth. The whole truth is you're non-different from the Lord, but you're also different from the Lord. Simultaneously one and different. Achintya Beta Beta Tattva. That's Mahaprabhu's philosophy. So some yogis offer sacrifices to the demigods, and others offer the self into the fire of Brahman by vibrating the pranava mantra Om. Shrotra Dhinindriyan Yanye Samyam Agni Shujuvati Shabdadin Vishayan Anya Indriyagni Shujuvati. Some offer their senses of hearing, touching, seeing, tasting, and smelling into the fires of self-control. Yet others offer these sense objects of sound, touch, form, taste, and smell into the fire of the senses. So obviously when we're talking about a spiritual practice, there has to be some element of self-control. And of course in different paths they may obtain that self-control by different ways. Here's mentioned of offering the senses of hearing, touching, seeing, tasting, and smelling to the fire of self-control. Others offered into the sense objects of sound, touch, form, taste, and smell into the fire of the senses. So there's a way of merging all these things, the objects of the senses into the senses. But this is, we can say, what's being described here can be seen as a mechanical way of attaining self-control. And the Bhagavad Gita does give that aspect when it's talking about how one can attain some level of realization by the ascending process. But there is limitations of that ascending process. For instance, it will describe how successful yogis, how they'll leave this body, leaving when the sun is traveling in the north, leaving during the light fortnight, meaning after Amavasya, the dark moon, then as the moon is growing towards full moon. But we have seen that many great personalities, they have left on Amavasya when there is no moon, just like Srila Sridhar Maharaj left on that way. Gadadhar Pandit left on that day. Also, Bhakti Vinod Thakur left at that time. And when asked about that, Srila Govinda Maharaj said that time of leaving and in that way shows the humility of the Vaishnava. We're not dependent on some kind of mechanical process of self-realization. Although, as I've explained before, the Bhagavad Gita does give all aspects of being able to engage oneself. So you can control your senses, and any successful practice of spiritual life depends on sense control. But we're also depending on the approach of the devotees of the Lord and the Lord himself to be able to have that association and give us some purpose in our life of engaging in the service of the Lord. And for us, that will be when we can engage our senses, all in the service of the Lord. That will be the proper utilization of the senses. We're not just trying to extinguish all the utilization of the senses, but we want to be able to use them in the service of the Lord, which again will put us on a platform of spiritual engagement and control of the senses. Sarvan indriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma samyamya yogagno juvati jnanadipite. Again, there are the yogis who offer all the functions of the senses and the life forces into the yogic fire of self-purification ignited by knowledge. So what's being here is offered the path of Jnana-yoga. Now, Srila Sridhar Maharaj has explained that the path of karma is one of exploitation, exploiting the resources of this material world. And the path of Jnana also has its limitations. Jnana is more associated with renunciation. So, therefore we see that the idea of just stopping all the engagements of the senses by that path of renunciation, that is an artificial situation, just like a stoppage of all work is not desirable. We are living in that atmosphere today where the whole world, they're being stopped in their engagements of work. And people are not able to sustain that. It's just very disturbing to people to not have any source of engagement, to not have their normal engagement, their normal routine. So you can see, and you can see by this situation that is existing, that it is very artificial. So the path of exploitation and the path of renunciation are both negative. But the path of dedication, that is positive. So then one utilizing everything in the service of the Lord, that's the path of dedication. That has some practical application. And dravya yagyas tapo yagya yoga yagyas tatapare svadhyaya jnana yagyascha yataya samshita vrata. Sincere in their practices and faithful to their vows, some persons sacrifice their possessions. Some undergo strict penances as a sacrifice. Some practice the eightfold mystic yoga as a sacrifice, and yet others perform knowledge sacrifice by singing and introspectively studying the Vedas. Sincere in their practices and faithful to their vows, some persons sacrifice their possessions. Some undergo strict penances as a sacrifice. Some practice the eightfold mystic yoga as a sacrifice, and yet others perform knowledge sacrifice by singing and introspectively studying the Vedas. So we see that there are many similar paths in many different spiritual and religious practices. Some practice, for instance, sacrifice their possessions. Not just we also see in Western religions that sometimes people, forms of monks or nuns, they maintain a vow of poverty. Other persons undergo strict penances. We've seen examples like how people will sometimes, we see in the West, they'll observe Lent. They'll give up something for a month, or they'll give up eating meat on a particular day of the week, like Friday, and sometimes they'll go on religious pilgrimage. And not just in Christianity, but in other practices, sometimes people will travel by walking on their knees, or they'll do full dandavats around a place of pilgrimage. They'll do circumambulation by offering dandavat pranams all the way around. So there are all different kinds of people engage themselves in sacrifice, and all these forms of sacrifice is an attestament. They're giving up their sense of enjoyment and showing themselves, sometimes correctly and sometimes incorrectly, as being servants of the Lord, or at least serious about their spiritual practices. And this is understandable but we do not feel that we have to negate our existence in this material world and reduce ourselves to a state of nothingness in order to be engaged in the service of the Lord. Because we understand that the soul is a person, and the soul, as Mahaprabhu has said, Jivar Swarup Oi Krishna Nityadas, the soul is the eternal servant of the Lord. So the natural engagement of the soul will be in acts of devotion, and that's really the highest form of yogic realization, which is bhakti. And it says that in the Bhagavad Gita itself. It says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanamam Prapadyante Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sadurlabha. After many, many births and deaths, one who comes to the full knowledge of Gyan, or the full realization of all knowledge, Jnanamam Prapadyate, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, one surrenders and understands that beyond Vasudeva, or beyond Krishna, there is nothing. Vasudeva Sarvamiti, that Krishna is everything. Samahatma Sadurlabha. So that is the highest form of gyan, or knowledge realization, to come to that level of understanding that Krishna is everything and his service is everything. Oh, and now I'll go on 29. Prana pana gati rudva pranayamya parayana apare niyatahara pranam praneshu juvati. Others practice breath control. Closing the right nostril and inhaling through the left, they bring the ascending air into union with the descending. Closing the left nostril and exhaling through the right, they similarly offer the descending air into the ascending. Then, closing both nostrils, they check both ascending and descending airs. Yet other practitioners of self-control offer all the senses into the life airs by reducing their food intake. So obviously, all this is for the purpose of sense control. And one has to engage in some form of sense control, because we are the devotees. They are not godasa. They are not servants of the senses. We have the name das, but that means servant of the Lord. We are the Lord's servant. We're not godasa. We're not the servants of the senses. And the word Goswami means that one is the controller of the senses. So, and here, when it's talking about this form of breath control, we can say that's one form of pranayam. Some people engage in pranayam as a way of breath control. I have also seen that, there are yogis who can maintain themselves underwater for long periods of time. This is all, so the idea of controlling the senses can be done to a high degree by some practitioners, yogic practitioners. That is not our path, but it's being explained, as I said. Here, again, the emphasis will be on controlling the senses and not being a servant of the senses. Sarve bhyete yagya vido yagya shayita kalmasha yagya shishtamrita bujo yanti brahma sanatanam. All these persons are knowers of sacrifice, purified by sacrifice. Enjoying the nectarian remnants of sacrifice, they attain to the eternal plane of the Absolute. Then again, there's many different forms of sacrifice being mentioned. Also Krishna mentions, Bhoktaram Yaga Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatvam Mam Shanti Richati.
he says, Bhoktaram yagya tapasam. That the word yagya means yagya vai Vishnu, means all sacrifices are meant to be done for the satisfaction of the Lord. So Krishna says, Bhoktaram yagya tapasam. I am the enjoyer of all one's sacrifices. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. And why am I the enjoyer of all sacrifices? Because I'm the sarvaloka maheshwaram, because I'm the Lord of all worlds. Sarvaloka maheshwaram. Suridam sarvabhutanam. But my position is not impersonal, and my position is not trying to control everyone. Suridam sarvabhutanam. He says the next that will also involve, I'm the enjoyer of all sacrifices, I'm the Lord of everyone, but at the same time, Suridam sarvabhutanam, I'm everyone's best friend. I'm the friend of all living entities. Suridam sarvabhutanam. And he says, Gyatva mam shanti richati. If you know that, shanti means peace. Gyatva mam shanti richate. Knowing those things, you can actually attain peace by that understanding. That all your actions, all your sacrifices are not meant to be able to gain some goal in this material world, have money or a nice wife or good income or some material benefits, but ultimately your actions should be done in the sense that you're have an eternal relationship with the Lord. And that has always been. And He is always looking at your best interest because He's your best friend. Then you'll attain peace if you come to that level of realization. Prabhupada published one book about that, about being the best friend of all living persons. See, the book was, that verse was called The Peace Formula. I don't know if you remember that book, but Prabhupada published that. Very nice, a very nice understanding. Nayam lokosti avagyasya kutonya kurusatama. O Arjuna, foremost of the Kurus, without sacrifice one cannot attain fulfillment in this world, to say nothing of the next. So, someone who doesn't do any sacrifice, any form of sacrifice, they won't attain any success, even in this world, what to speak of the spiritual world. Just like, for instance, we've heard of two words. One is Shreyas and the other is Preyas. So Preyas means immediate enjoyment. You pay your money, you get something, and you immediately enjoy it. You go to the movie theater. Of course, people are not going to the movies anymore because they're avoiding crowds. But you go to the movie theater, you buy a ticket, you go in and you sit down and watch 2 hours of illusion, and then you come out happy. So that's immediate enjoyment. No sacrifice, real sacrifice involved. And a child can hear other children saying, come out and play. But maybe that person's parents forcing that child to study, to do well in school. Then Shreyas means some sacrifices involved, but later it is a goal which is attained by that sacrifice, which is worthy of the sacrifice. You can attain some enjoyment without any sacrifice at all, but you will not amount to, that will not lead to any success, neither in this world nor in the next. So that's what's being said here. Then, evam bahuvida yagya vitata brahmano mukhe karmajan viditan sarvan evam gyatva vimokshase. Thus, many types of sacrifice are described in the Vedas and allied scriptures. Know that they are all accomplished through action of thought, word, and deed. Knowing this, you will be liberated from the bondage of action. Thus, many types of sacrifice are described in the Vedas and allied scriptures, meaning the Puranas and others, related scriptures. Know that they are all accomplished through action of thought, word, and deed. Knowing this, you will be liberated from the bondage of action. So, thought, word, and deed. So, we want to be able to use everything in the service of the Lord. Not just offer the results of our actions to the Lord, but the thought process, the engagement prior to the action, the words, the discussion, and then the accomplishment of action, all done for the service of the Lord. Shreyan dravyam mayad yagyaj Jnana-yoga parantapa sarvam karma kilam parta jnane paris samapyate. O Arjuna, subduer of the enemy, knowledge sacrifice is superior to the sacrifice of material objects, because the perfection of all action, including its fruit, is in its culmination in knowledge. Well, you can understand that. You will not have as much success by just mechanically engaging in some sacrifice that you're just offering this object and that object without any understanding. But better than that will be to have knowledge of what sacrifices involve. Why are you engaged in this process? What are you doing? So Arjuna, subduer of the enemy, knowledge sacrifice is superior to the sacrifice of material objects, because the perfection of all action, including its fruit, is its culmination in knowledge. So you can see that a poor man, for instance, can offer a flower to the Lord. Krishna says, offer me a leaf, flower, fruit, water, and I'll accept that. But will it be as noteworthy or as beautiful if a poor man offers something very simple like a flower, which he's gotten with some effort, he offers that to the Lord, or a rich man just offers a flower. Here, I'm offering you a flower. Then one time I heard it described, I think it was described by Prabhupada, he said, and there's some humor in this, but also factual. He said, the Lord doesn't see what you offer, he sees what you keep for yourself. So someone is offering a flower, tulsi leaves, with love and devotion. Another person is just thinking, oh yes, this is mechanical. Arjuna, subduer of the enemies, knowledge sacrifice is superior to the sacrifice of material objects, because the perfection of all action, including its fruit, is its culmination in knowledge. Understanding that I'm offering this for the satisfaction of the Lord. Okay. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. So this verse is very famous, and it's the verse about approaching a spiritual master. We quote that verse. Tadvidi pranipatina pariprasnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. You will be able to attain knowledge by studying you will be able to attain knowledge by satisfying the divine master with submission, relevant inquiry, and sincere service. The enlightened souls who are learned in scriptural knowledge and endowed with direct realization of the supreme absolute truth will impart divine knowledge to you. So you will be able to attain knowledge by satisfying the divine master with submission. Tadvidi pranipat. Pranipat is with submission, relevant inquiry. Pranipat pariprasnena, asking questions. And sincere service. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya, with service. And the enlightened souls who are learned in spiritual knowledge and endowed with direct realization of the absolute truth will impart divine knowledge to you. And we've heard Srila Govinda Maharaj, he would
Well, first of all, we understand that when you come to the path of devotion and you're approaching a spiritual master, then you will ask questions to inquire, submissively inquire, not with a challenging mood. But then one is, Srila Guru Maharaj explained, by pranipat means that you are offering yourself in the direction of divinity. You're surrendering yourself in that direction. You're done with all attempts to try to dominate this material world. And you come to that plane, you are coming as a self-sufficient unit, in the sense that you're not coming necessarily looking for bad in food, but you're looking actually, you come self-sustained. But that explanation I've heard. And then pranipat, offering yourself in the direction of divinity or towards divinity, asking questions. Now, one of the things we heard about Srila Govinda Maharaj explained, and he said that's in reference to Yuddha Manu Seva Vikram. He said, he did not ask many questions, he just asked, do you want this? Do you want this? And if he heard that Srila Govinda Maharaj or Guru Maharaj wanted this, then that was all he needed to know. His only question was, do you want this? And I remember also every year, he was actually sacrificing so much to be able to engage himself in working in China and preaching in China. And he made himself a very close servant of the Lord and his devotees. And all the devotees there were so indebted to him and very happy with him. And then each year he would ask Govinda Maharaj, Guru Maharaj, do you want me to continue with the service? And of course they would say, yes, we're very satisfied with your service. And he would continue. But that was his only question. Pariprashna. Do you want this? Is this what you want? That's all he asked. A very simple question, but mark of a Seva Vikram, of a very highly placed servitor. So the enlightened souls who are learned in scriptural knowledge and endowed with direct realization of the supreme absolute truth will impart divine knowledge to you. So tadvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam. That person will impart knowledge to you because jnaninas tattvadarshina. He's tattvadarshi. That person has seen the real, has seen ultimate reality, that person is of the highest level of knowledge and understanding of devotion and can impart that knowledge to you. So I'm going to stop at this point. Tomorrow we'll continue. So, all right. Oh, you play the kartos off. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Rupa Sanatam Bhakta Raghuna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghuna
Chai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Jahoite Vignana Shabista Puran Chai Gosai Char Mui Taradas Tasabar Badarenu Mora Panchagras Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas Janame Janame More Abhilas Chai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamodai Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Haribo Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Haribo Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajaka Charyashta Tara Sadashi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev-Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajaka Charyashta Tara Sadashi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev-Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Rupanuga Guru Bharga Ki Jai Namachari Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhadda Dasha Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Prem Sigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Vishvavaranya Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Madhacharya Vrinda Ki Jai Nandakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai Soquel Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopi Govardhan Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Ju Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai all the assembled devotees Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Bol
Pavan Janardan Maharaj Jai